Hey there, War of the Visions fans, here with a quick hit classroom session on some of the new Vision cards released today. Blossoms in the Dark and Downtime. They're both UR level cards. We also got a Tonberry card released. MR rarity does have a summon with it. I might do a quick classroom video on that one as well, but I really wanted to dive into these two cards in particular first. So Downtime in particular is a Glaciella oriented card. There's a few Vision cards recently that have been released that are obviously tailor made for certain characters, and typically it's either to balance them out or to give them something that's not inherent in their kit. Let's also be real, it's also a source of money for the company where they can force us to drain some Vizzy or trying to throw some money at it potentially as well. Downtime in particular, honestly, for what it is, I think it's an average card. This obviously is a really potentially strong card for Glaciella, but in the broad scheme of the game, what you can pull, it's average. Let's be real. The HP, the attack is average. The magic stat is irrelevant. To be honest, it's not used in Glaciella, and she does. This card does have a Glaciella only effect, which kind of pigeonholes it. Where some of these other cards at least have, and you'll see it in the blossoms, at least have like job specific abilities, element specific abilities where it can fit more of the cast of characters. This one Glaciella only, so it gives her an extra 10 defense. The long story short of this card is that it's supposed to essentially make her and her party a little tankier. And I'll get into a comparative look as to the alternative on the next slide. But yeah, 10 defense for Glaciella, which she innately has 0, so this does bulk her up a bit. And the unit effect is an increase of area resist of 10. This ability is, it's strong for a unit effect. Usually unit effects only go up to 10%. So I'm not going to knock it for that. But in the broad scheme of the game, between Death Machine and Bloody Moon, which also have area resists, those cards have area resists for the parties and for more percentages. So, like, personally, my opinion, if you're afraid of an enemy team that has a lot of area users and you want to bulk a character up for it, you probably want to go for the party effect of area resist. The fact that it just goes on a unit is okay, and I say that because if you're putting this card on someone other than Glaciella, that's the only benefit that character is going to get for themselves, is a boost of area resist attacks of 10 for themselves. So it's okay, it's not the worst, it's just overall relatively weaker compared to what else you could potentially do. The second part of it for the party effects, increase HP of 15% across the party. As far as I know, Golem is the only other card that does party-wide HP buffs, so this definitely is a nice addition to bulking up your party. And an increase of ice resist of 12%. Kind of interesting here. I obviously think this is partially because of how strong ice comps are, with not many fire comps to essentially stave them off, because otherwise this card doesn't really make sense for Glaciella because she's not weak to ice, and she doesn't really specifically want to target ice per se. I know the other unit on the card, Cadia, is a wind unit, so hypothetically, like if you're using this for the MR unit, being a wind unit and weak to ice, this will help her, but like it seems kind of like an add-on more than anything. That being said, ice resist is still helpful, but because ice is still very strong and it is hard to potentially get fire comps that really do well against it. But yeah, it's honestly just kind of a weird card. It's definitely tailored for Glaciella. The comparative look I wanted to do was Downtime versus Titan. So when Glaciella was first released, the week after that, Titan came out, and you can see Downtime on the left, Titan on the right. Just to refresh your memories, Titan 112 attack, 283 HP. It's got some magic. I don't know why. 43 dexterity. But for water and earth users that are, let's say, spear users, dragoons, and whatnot, it increases their attack by 30%, and the unit effect increases pierce attack by 10, and then the party effect increases human killer by 25% on all physical attacks. So this card, Titan is obviously very offensively oriented, and it is a little more applicable to other units where it's not just locked onto Glaciella for the buff. It's really meant for like water and earth spear users. Now, let's be real, there's not a lot of them, if any of them, except for Glaciella. But that being said, it's at least potentially they're still there for other characters to come out in the future. But yeah, when you're comparing the two, one seems to be more for bulking and for getting your overall party survivability up. The other one seems to be if you're trying to kill things a little quicker and really pack an offensive punch. So both viable options for Glaciella. They round her out in two different ways. So it's kind of interesting that they released this. Yeah, so if you pull it, I don't know if it's the best use of your resources, to be honest, because like I mentioned, it really is tailor made for one character. That being said, if you've already invested in Glaciella as well, you've probably already invested in Titan 2. So investing in both Titan and Downtime might be kind of like an over allocation of your resources on average per se, unless Glaciella is like your only unit and you're just trying to put everything you can into her. So yeah, it is what it is. I'll leave it at that. Blossoms in the Dark. This is really the card that I like. I think this card is going to shift a little bit of the game in a new direction. We're seeing a ton of Pierce meta right now. Obviously, cards like Downtime contribute to that. So, keeping Pierce a little extra relevant potentially by adding more for variables to it. But this is a step in the direction toward moving away from it just a smidge. This card gives a 232 HP, 186 magic, which is a ton of magic for a Vision card, 20 luck, which is awesome. It'll add for potential agility and other things in the mid fight. It is for there's a Skahal only ability to this where it increases his magic attack by 20, the modifier, and for a handful of spell classes, it'll increase their magic by 10%. That's the unit effect of the card. The party effect is kind of similar to Titan that we just saw, an increase in human killer of 25% for magic attacks only. So that's why I say this card is going to potentially skew more magic teams in the mix. In particular, Skahal, you haven't seen him a lot because he kind of got the rough end of the stick. Just like a broad overview of kind of his release and why you just never hear him talked about or really never hear him seen. And I actually might do a character review soon on him, given that they've made this card and we might go in a direction where he gets a lot more use. Long story short, when the time around where he was released the week before was Halloween Ryu and Halloween Leela. So number one, not only did we get two strong magic users already, but at the time both of them had how can I say this, element buffs for teammates. So Ryu buffed earth elements and Leela buffed wind elements. Well, that was really cool because Kilf was super popular at the time. Evade was still a really popular comp. And so Kilf was really popular because she had Holy. So in a ton of comps, you were seeing Kilf and Ryu just because Earth was strong with them together, obviously against Evade, obviously strong for Magic. And then on the other side of the spectrum, the week after those Halloween units came out, Howlet and Skahal were released. So not only did Kilf get the benefit of Ryu, but the week after, Howlet got the benefit of Leela, where you got two wind units together. So there was also an arena map that time too, where was buffs. I'm sorry, Guild War map that buffed wind unit attacks. So long story short, you got a ton of wind units, and Skahal kind of fell by the wayside. Number one, because lightning is weak to earth, so he didn't really do well if you were running Kilf and Ryu comps. And then on the other side of it, you didn't want to like pull specifically for Skahal because you really wanted to go ham for Howlet, who was pairing really well with Leela, who was strong then, is still strong now. And then before we know it, Final Fantasy IV collab is here. We start getting into more of the dark meta and then the Pierce meta, and Skahal really just never got a chance to actually shine. So to the date in the game, he's never really had his map or meta or moment. And this at least pushes it a little bit in that direction. And I'm actually excited because he's actually a very powerful unit. It's one of the reasons why I actually might do that character review, because I think it's worth bringing some awareness to the community. A really quick thing I wanted to show you here. So just a look at some magic uses, just on the magic stat alone, in terms of like how hard they hit as a mage. I picked four mages, three of them are really random. I figured popular ones so you could kind of get some relative idea. Leela, Medina, Kilf, Skahal. Their magic stat, if you just look at their board and their job, that's it, board and job, that's what you see. So 300, 289, 315, 295, all relatively within the same range. Now, a couple of these magic users do have trust masteries that boost their magic. Leela's not one of them. Leela's going to be at 300 this whole time we talk about her. But Medina and Skahal do. So their magic, with their trust ability, is 376 for Medina and 354 for Skahal. So they quickly, in like their base forms, outpace Kilf and Leela for their total magic stat. I consider this base because if you're using them, they're probably level 99 or close to it. So you're well past the 40 level. So you're going to obviously have that trust ability. The next thing, though, is you have to consider support abilities. Some of these characters have magic level up, some of them don't. Leela does not, so Leela's still stuck at 300 magic. Medina does have magic level up, so she can potentially use it. So don't Kilf and Skahal. So if you're using these characters and you're applying the support of magic level up to them, which is a 30% magic buff, you currently get these numbers. So Medina still is the overall strongest magic stat. But if you're looking at like Leela and Kilf, and in your mind, you've probably seen them a lot more than Medina, and you're thinking, wow, yeah, they do hit hard. Like obviously Kilf with Holy, Leela with AOE magic. Skull technically is a fair amount of magic in them, just off that one support ability. And then the last thing is, surprisingly enough, Skull actually has two. He's got two magic level up support abilities. You can put both on him. I don't know if it's optimal because the other support abilities he has, one is to give him defense, which obviously bulks him up a little bit, kind of like what Kilf does. The other one reduces cast time, so that's also potentially really valuable, where if you want him to just speedily hit things. But if you want him to just be like super mage, you can put both magic level ups. That puts him at 531, way ahead of the other mages. So in terms of like potential hard-hitting mages in a magic meta, Skahal has the potential to genuinely be really powerful. I'm not going to get more into his kit because that's more meant for a character review. The one thing I totally forgot to mention, I can't believe I did, Blossoms in the Dark has this Ruinja ability. It's at the very bottom here. Ruinja, I've seen him, I've put this card on Skahal already, kind of experimenting this morning. He does use it a fair amount. I'm iffy on the ability, though, only because it's kind of comparative to Flare. In my opinion, Flare is probably better. Ruinja is 46 AP, Flare is 50 AP, so it's basically the same. It's only 4 extra AP to cast Flare. But Flare's like in the 300 range for the percent modifier. Ruinja is 260, and I think Flare is like 335, something crazy. It's way higher. The only real key difference is that Flare has just a smidge extra on the high end of cast time, but Skahal does have in his Trust Mastery a reduction in cast time, and he's got a passive that also reduces cast time. So in the broad scheme of things, I don't know if Ruinja is a huge upgrade for him per se. It might be for other mages. I don't even know. It's nice. I've seen it get some good use, but I don't think it really makes the card any more powerful than it inherently already is. But yeah, that's it in a nutshell. These are two really interesting UR Vision cards. Hopefully you have some fun putting them in your parties. I look forward to doing some other content with Skahal to kind of dive a little deeper into what this may mean for the future of the game. But if you are pulling for these cards, good luck. And if I don't talk to you the next day or two, Happy New Year.